Alright, so had a little mishap there, but we're going back to the tutorial now. Um, so back what we have, you have your beats now. Oh, whoops. You have your beats, you've got your club dance, which comes in um, after the piano is played for, I believe, 8 measures. Let's take a listen. Okay, so that's 16 measures right here. This one of these is 16 measures. So after 16 measures, you have your club dance beat, which comes in. And after 16 minutes of that, we've got our bass, which comes in. And so there's a lot you can actually do to modify the way these things sound. Now, the blue is going to mean that they are a real instrument. That's just how GarageBand defines instruments, because you could play it with a real instrument plugged in. But that's not what we're going to be doing here today. So here we're on this I, which is information, I suppose. And you can find information about your real instrument track, which is the one you are clicked on currently. And you can always click edit, and there's loads and loads of effects you can add with that. I probably won't go into detail with all of those, because for a real instrument, for an instrument defined as a real instrument, it's a little more complicated than that, I believe. You can add other stuff in though if you still want to. It's just not as simple as a software instrument. If you click here on Master Track, here is where you can edit your tempo, you can edit your signature, your time signature if you want it to be 4/4 or 6/8, whatever you want. And you can also change the key of it, so maybe you don't want a B flat, maybe you want a C, or maybe you want something real weird and you can go F sharp. And then you can also change the major or the minor key that it's in. And so that's that. You won't have to click save. It'll just do that for you. And you can click edit. This here are your down here is your master effects, and up here is your track effects. I believe the track effects only apply to a certain track, although I could be mistaken. Master effects will apply to the whole track, all of your tracks that you have set up. This one, this one, this one, all of them you have set up. So now you can see when I click on this, this is a software instrument. This is green. This means that it is generated by the computer. So you may go to browse and, well, I don't know what that quite is yet, sorry. But if you can go to edit, you can choose what kind of effects you want to add. Now, as you can see here, we have 4 effects. These first 3 were added automatically to this, and the sound generator was added automatically as well. The chorus is an effect that I added. It does what it says. Instead of one single line, it adds a chorus of lines to this track. And you can change what kind of chorus you want. By clicking the second drop down arrow underneath of chorus, you can change what type it is. So maybe you want a spread stereo, maybe you want atmospheric. Let's go with atmospheric. And so that'll change the way it sounds. Let's listen to how this sounds now. Now you can see it changed the sound of how that sounds. Now for the sound generator, you know it's that bass line. You know it sounds like a techno bass line, but perhaps you don't want it to sound all techno. Perhaps you want it to sound like a bass or a piano. Let's try horns. Maybe we want to sound it like a brass horn. So if we go to this drop down arrow, we see we have only 3 selections here for the horns. We have a horn section, a pop horn section, or a trumpet section. Well, let's try a trumpet section. And this will change now how our synth bass sequence 4, it'll change how that sounds. So we'll click back over here and we'll see what it sounds like. Now you can see that may not sound like the trumpet you're used to, but the synth bass is a bass part, so that's the trumpet playing in a very low note, so it doesn't sound like a normal trumpet would sound. Now There's a few more things that we probably need to look at. Over here you've got your list of instruments. Um, and that's just your list of instruments here. You can change how loud you want them to sound. So perhaps you want this bass part to sound really loud, and maybe you want the drums to back off just a little bit. So you can go back here and see what that sounds like. So now you know the drums are a bit softer and the bass has gotten a little bit louder. Yeah. You can also, I believe, you can click on these headphones and that'll allow you to listen to this part only. It will cancel out the other tracks. Yeah, so that's useful if you want to see how something sounds by itself. You can click those headphones. Or, in addition to that, you can click the mute button and that will mute that specific track. So yeah, that will take that out so you can listen to the other tracks by themselves. Finally, I think this is pretty important. If you double click your track, you will bring up this menu over here. Sorry for that screen recorder thing. You'll bring up this menu right here. Now this menu, if you click on it, you can change what kind of a pitch you want your note to have. And this is very useful it's just very easy to change notes. So perhaps you have this bass line going. We're going to go ahead and extend these another measure, or another 16 measures. So you've got your generic bass line, which is going for 16 measures. And, well, before we get to that, we're going to go back over here to this loop, and that will let us look at our loops again. Now we're going to go back to that synth bass sequence, and we're going to add another one. Whoops. Now I suppose there is an easier way to add stuff, but to make sure you get it right, you can just click another synth bass 4 and drag it onto there. Whoops. Okay, so maybe you can't. You just want to add another one. That's probably okay. I think it's because we've modified the software instrument, so it's producing a different one. So every time you want to change a different instrument, you're going to need to create another line. Now, perhaps you have this going along, and that's fine too. And then you want it to change keys all of a sudden. So we're going to change the pitch to 3. I personally think that pitches 3, 5, and 7, they sound pretty good, but yeah, we're going to stick with 3 for now. And now you can see we've got a +3 here, and that means that the pitch is going up by 3. So let's see how that sounds. Now you're thinking, why does it sound that different? Well, we have not changed the effects on it. So we can go back down here to this I button, go to Edit, and now we're going to want to change those to the horns again. We're going to want to add a chorus part because that's the same effect that the other one has. And it was atmospheric, I think, and we had a trumpet section. So now your settings are exactly the same, and now you can move this back up here. There may be an easier copy button, but this just makes certain that you have everything correct the way you want it to. Now you can see that both tracks are identical except for the pitch. Now we can go back here and listen to how it changes. And you can see that it changed its pitch, it went up. That's very useful because if you have a repeating rhythm like this, you may want to change up the notes every now and then. Yeah, only a few more things left here now. And as you can see in this pattern, which is my song that I have, that should not be there, we'll delete that. You start out with the piano, then you add the bass, then you add the club beat, and then you add various dance floor patterns, which would be the melody, I suppose. You get to here and it stops. But then you have this little thing. Now what is this? This is a drum intro, and let's see how it sounds. So it gets that the very last beat of that measure to lead into the new measure, which has all the stuff, all the tracks starting up again. Now, how do you get one of these little things? Well, let's drag it down here and let's take a look. What this actually is it is a club dance beat, but it's been shortened. Now, how do you shorten it? Well, that's an excellent question. We'll put it back up there. Let's get a new club beat out and we'll take a look at it. So we're going to go back to our loops and we're going to get a new club beat. I believe it was club beat number 1. So we get our club beat number 1 back out. And this is just an example. You can do this with any track that you choose. So it doesn't matter if it's a guitar or piano, you can do the same thing. Now the top right corner is that loop that allows you to lengthen it again or basically repeat it. But perhaps you just want the very ending portion or the very beginning portion. Now let's say we want the ending portion. If you go on the middle of the track, you get this little arrow thing and you can use that to drag, and that cuts off all the parts that you're dragging across to the point where you can just get this little sliver that you want. And now you can drag that, and you drag that there or wherever you want it to be. And now that you have this little sliver, you can repeat that little sliver as much as you want. Although with this particular beat that would be very odd because it's not much. So we'll probably delete that. That is the majority of things. That's the majority of what you're going to need. So finally, is the last thing I'm going to show. We have this synth bass line that it's not being used right now. And we're not going to use it at all because we don't want to. So what you can do is you can hold your command key, your Apple key. Once you've clicked on it, you can hold command and delete. Now you've removed that synth bass line that had no tracks in it anyway. And now you're set. You can begin creating your own songs and hopefully make a really good song. Thanks for watching.